The legacy I threw away. The contract was a masterpiece, a symphony of clauses and contingencies. Jenna Saville, poised at the head of the gleaming conference table, savoured the moment. "Any final objections?" she asked, her voice cool and precise. Silence. As pens scratched on paper, sealing the multi-million-dollar merger, her phone vibrated incessantly. Annoyed, she finally glanced at the screen. Unknown number. She dismissed it. It buzzed again, a text from a neighbour in her sleepy hometown. "Jenna, call me, it's about your father." A cold knot tightened in her stomach. The victory in the room suddenly felt hollow, a distant echo. Her assistant leaned in. "Everything all right, Jenna?" She forced a steely smile. "Perfect, just a ghost from the past." But the ghost had just taken a solid, chilling form. The ranch was smaller than she remembered, bleached by the sun and heavy with silence. The air smelled of dust and hay, a scent that clung to childhood memories she'd spent a lifetime scrubbing away. Cole stood on the porch of the main house, his hat in his hands. He looked older, his face etched with a grief that felt performative to Jenna. "Jenna," he said, his voice rough, "I'm real sorry about Arthur." She gave a curt nod, brushing past him. "The will is straightforward, I'm his only heir. We'll inventory the assets and list the property." Cole followed her inside. "Your father, he left something for you, a letter." He held out a sealed envelope. Jenna took it without a word and tossed it onto the cluttered kitchen counter unopened. The funeral was a parade of faces she barely recognized, all offering condolences she didn't want. They called her Arthur's big city lawyer daughter, their tones a mix of awe and judgment. Cole was a shadow, quietly ensuring everything ran smoothly, receiving heartfelt hugs from the townsfolk. It infuriated her. Who was he? Just the hired help her soft-hearted father had taken a liking to. After the last mourner left, Cole approached her. "Jenna, about the ranch, your father had plans, a vision. He wouldn't have wanted you to just sell it off." She turned on him, the day's tension snapping. "His vision died with him, and you're in no position to tell me what he would have wanted." A week later, Jenna stood in the stable yard, legal documents in hand. Cole stood before her, the morning sun casting a long shadow behind him. The other ranch hands shuffled nervously nearby. "The property is being sold," Jenna announced, her voice carrying across the yard. "Your services are no longer required. You'll be given severance." Cole's face fell. "Jenna, please, this land, it's your legacy. He trusted me to look after it." A bitter laugh escaped her. "My legacy, this dust bowl. You're just the hired help, Cole. Your sentimentality is not a business plan." The words hung in the air, cruel and final. The humiliation in his eyes was a victory, a confirmation of her power. Alexander Thorne was everything Cole was not. Sophisticated, impeccably dressed, and radiating success. He found her at the local diner, sliding into her booth with a disarming smile. "Jenna Saville, Alexander Thorne, I knew your father slightly, a great man." He presented a sleek brochure. "I want to buy the ranch, but not to destroy it. I'm building a conservation-focused resort, a place that honors the land. I think it's what Arthur would have wanted." He spoke her language, profit, vision, legacy. He validated her. It was the easiest decision she'd ever made. She saw a partner, a kindred spirit. She never saw the predator hidden beneath the charm. Back in her glass-walled penthouse, Jenna felt a surge of triumph. The sale was complete. The money was in her account. She had efficiently disposed of the cumbersome relic of her past. She framed a photo of her signing the papers with Alexander, a trophy of her decisive action. She finally picked up her father's letter from her bag, its edges crumpled. She looked at it for a long moment, then tossed it into a drawer unread. It was just the sentimental ramblings of an old man. She had moved on. She was building her own empire, unburdened by history. 2 years flew by in a whirlwind of success. Jenna was made a partner at her firm. She became engaged to Stephen, a fellow attorney from a powerful family. Her life was a curated collection of the finest things. One morning, a familiar name appeared on her office caller ID, Alexander Thorne. "Jenna," he said, his voice warm, "I have a proposition. A new project bigger than the last. I need the sharpest legal mind I know." He was offering her the lead role, a career-defining position. It felt like destiny, a reward for all her hard work and shrewd decisions. The new project was a sprawling, eco-luxury development called Viridian. The numbers were staggering. Alexander was a visionary, and he made Jenna feel like an indispensable part of his team. During a late-night strategy session, he leaned in conspiratorially. "This is off the record, but the initial investors are seeing returns of 500%. It's a golden ticket." He looked at her, his gaze intense. "I'd let you in, of course, a personal stake, but it has to be quiet." Greed, dressed as opportunity, whispered in her ear. She didn't hesitate. She saw a future of limitless wealth. Jenna liquidated everything. The money from the ranch sale, her stocks, her savings. She even convinced her firm to make a substantial, quiet investment based on her inside track. She transferred the colossal sum to the offshore entity Alexander specified. The confirmation email felt like a key to a new kingdom. She celebrated with Stephen, talking about their future estate, their children's trust funds. She was at the pinnacle. She had never felt more in control, completely unaware that she had just handed the keys of her life to the man she had wronged. The first crack appeared as a minor news headline. Questions swirl around Viridian project permits. Alexander assured her it was bureaucratic noise, competitors trying to slow them down. Then a major investor pulled out. The whispers grew louder. Jenna's phone began to ring non-stop. Partners, investors, Stephen. Panic was a live wire in her chest. She tried to call Alexander. His number was disconnected. Her assistant burst into her office, face pale. Jenna, the SEC is here. And the FBI. The world tilted on its axis. The collapse was televised. Ponzi scheme unravels, top lawyer implicated. Jenna's face was splashed across the news. Her firm, facing ruin, immediately fired her and sued her for malpractice. The penthouse was gone. Stephen left, his family name needing to be protected from the scandal. She sat on the floor of a rented studio apartment, surrounded by boxes, the silence screaming in her ears. She was bankrupt, professionally blacklisted, and utterly alone. The empire she had built was sand, washed away by a tide she never saw coming. In the wreckage, she remembered the letter. She frantically tore through her boxes, her hands trembling until she found it. The paper felt fragile, a relic from a past life. She broke the seal with a shaky breath. Her father's familiar handwriting filled the page. "My dearest Jenna," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. There's something you need to know. Cole is not just my foreman, he is your half-brother. His mother passed and I brought him home. The ranch was always meant to bind you two together. Please trust him, he knows my heart for this land." The words blurred. Half-brother. The truth was a physical blow, all the pieces shifted. Cole's devotion, his grief, his claims about her father's vision, it wasn't loyalty. It was a brother's right. She had fired him, humiliated him, sold his birthright. The weight of her pride, her arrogance, crushed her. She had been so blind. Sobs racked her body, not just for the money she lost, but for the family she had rejected and betrayed. The foundation of her entire identity shattered in an instant. She had to see it. She drove the long, familiar road back to the ranch, a pilgrimage of shame. She expected to see half-built foundations, the scars of Alexander's failed project. But as she crested the hill, her breath caught. The land was breathtaking. Lush green pastures stretched out, dotted with beautiful, healthy horses. A stunning, modern yet rustic stable complex stood where the old barn had been. A sign arched over the entrance, Blackwood Legacy Stables and Conservation Trust. It was her father's dream, realized to perfection. And there he was. Cole stood by the fence watching her. He wasn't in workman's clothes anymore, but in the confident attire of a successful man. There was no surprise in his eyes, only a calm, settled knowing. He had been waiting for her. Jenna stepped out of the car, her legs weak. The air was clean and sweet. The silence was no longer heavy but peaceful. It was a peace she had forfeited. She walked toward him, the prodigal daughter returning to a kingdom that was no longer hers. "Hello, Jenna," Cole said, his voice even. No anger, no gloating, just fact. She couldn't speak, her gaze sweeping over the thriving property. "How?" she finally whispered. "Alexander," Cole stated simply. "We went to college together. He owed me a favor, a big one." He explained it calmly, like a chess master recounting a finished game. The initial offer, the flattery, the fake investment, every move was designed to appeal to her pride and greed. "I didn't have to force you, Jenna. I just showed you the path, and your own nature did the rest." The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. "The money, the ranch sale money," Jenna stammered. Cole nodded. "It's right here, it funded this." He gestured to the land. "But the ranch money was just the seed, Jenna. Our father was a brilliant man. He didn't just work the land, he invested in it. Tech, pharmaceuticals, he built a fortune you never knew about." He looked at her, a flicker of pity in his eyes. "He left a separate will. He left it all to me. He said you had already built your own kingdom. He was right." The full, devastating scope of her loss unfolded. She hadn't just been tricked, she had been disinherited. The real wealth, the security she had craved, had been within her grasp, tied to the brother she had scorned. Her ruthless pursuit of a self-made life had cost her the foundation her father had actually provided. She had sold her birthright for a pittance and then lost even that. The revenge was not in her ruin, but in his success, built with the resources she had thrown away. "Why?" Jenna asked, her voice broken. "Why go through all this?" Cole's calm facade finally cracked. "You called me the hired help. You threw me out of my home, our home, without a second thought. You spat on our father's memory. I didn't want to just take what was mine. I wanted you to understand. I wanted you to feel the consequences of that pride." He hadn't just wanted the money, he had wanted her to see the man she had dismissed inherit the world. It was a lesson, delivered with brutal finality. There was no fight left in her. The truth was a purifying fire burning away her arrogance, leaving only the raw, painful truth. She looked at Cole, her brother, and saw not a villain but a mirror. She had done this to herself. He was merely the instrument of her own flawed character. She nodded slowly, accepting the verdict. There were no more words. She turned and walked back to her car, leaving the legacy behind forever. Months later, Jenna sat in a small beige office, a temporary worker for a logistics company. Her life was a study in grey. The scandal had faded from the news, but the damage was permanent. One of her few solaces was the local business journal. The cover story featured Cole Blackwood, hailed as a visionary conservationist and philanthropist. He had used their father's fortune to become a pillar of the community she had fled. The world had not punished him, it had rewarded him. And it felt just. She tried to write him a letter once. She wanted to say she was sorry, to acknowledge their shared blood, but the words felt cheap, meaningless after all that had happened. An apology couldn't rebuild what she had demolished. Her father had tried to give her a brother, a home, a purpose. She had chosen a penthouse view over a family horizon. The pain of that realization was her constant companion, a more effective teacher than any success had ever been. Sometimes, in her quiet apartment, she would allow herself to remember the good moments, the smell of her father's pipe, the vastness of the starry sky over the ranch, the feeling of belonging she had spent her adult life running from. Those memories were no longer painful, just deeply sorrowful. They were ghosts of a life she could have had, a person she could have been. The pride that had once fueled her now felt like a disease she had finally survived, but one that had left her permanently scarred. She agreed to this interview not for sympathy, but as a final act of accountability. Sitting before the camera, she felt stripped bare. "I was the villain of my own story," she said, her voice steady but soft. "I thought the world was revenging against me, but it was. The world just gave me exactly what I asked for. I valued status over family, money over legacy, and my own intellect over my father's wisdom. I got exactly what I deserved." The recording light blinked off. The producer thanked her. Jenna gathered her coat, a simple, worn thing now. There was no triumphant comeback, no secret redemption. Her victory was not in winning back what she lost, but in finally understanding why she had lost it. She walked out into the anonymous city street, just another face in the crowd. The lesson was complete. The proud, brilliant Jenna Saville was gone. In her place was a woman who had learned. Too late that the best things in life aren't things you acquire, but legacies you protect. And she had thrown hers away.